If you enjoy beating the heat with just a little bit of gin, then you're in luck, because today we're going to be looking at 3 cocktail recipes made with gin that are perfect for cooling you off. Welcome to Cocktail Limelight. I'm your host, Erick Castro, and today we're going to be going over 3 gin drinks that I came up with myself that are perfect for cooling off and helping you beat the heat. Back in the day, I was a gin educator for about 2 years. So what that meant is I traveled from coast to coast teaching people all about gin. During that time, I created more gin cocktails than I think I had before or since. And I always had a good time doing it. And here's the reason why. So many of the gins out there are so different that you can make one gin cocktail with 10 different gins and you'll end up with 10 completely different cocktails. Plus, the botanicals in gin lend so much complexity that it can be very rewarding when you come up with a cocktail that really works. Whether you're making something fruity, something tropical, or something really clean and classic, gin works across the gamut. Which is why I always recommend to people that they keep an open mind when trying a new gin cocktail. Because a lot of you out there are gin lovers and you don't even know it. The first cocktail that we're going to be making today is called the King's Pineapple, and it's a drink I came up with about 10 years ago for an event in Los Angeles. And during this period, I was heavy into tiki drinks, so I wanted to see what I could do to recreate a drink that was tropical but rich with juniper. So what I did with this cocktail was create something tall and refreshing with pineapple and just a little bit of absinthe. Let's make one. First, we're going to start out with 2 dashes of absinthe, as well as 3/4 ounce lime, followed up with 1 ounce of pineapple juice, along with 3/4 ounce honey syrup. And that's 2-to-1 honey syrup, folks. Meaning it's 2 parts honey to 1 part water. Lastly, we're gonna be adding 2 ounces of delicious London dry gin. Now we're gonna add a little bit of Pebble ice and give it a good shake. Now that I have this mixture all frothy and aerated, I'm gonna pour it into a chilled hurricane glass. Next, I'm gonna top it off with more pebbles to get it looking frosty and generous. Now for the garnish, we're gonna hit it with a pineapple and a cherry. Now that it's garnished, I think it's time that we give this cocktail its day in court. The absinthe, the juniper, the pineapple. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. This is low-key maybe one of my favorite cocktails I've come up with.
Just what I needed.
Damn. Now the next cocktail that I'm making is actually a riff on the fresh berry bramble, which in itself is a reinterpretation of the Dick Bradsell classic. But what makes this twist a little more unique is that we add a bit of Campari in there to just give it a touch of aperitivo. Plus, this cocktail has muddled raspberries in it, and the muddled raspberries combined with the Campari give it a beautiful deep red crimson. And y'all already know how I feel about red drinks. I love them. To make a bitter bramble, first we start out with about 3 to 5 raspberries. Next we add 3/4 ounce lemon juice, 3/4 ounce simple syrup, along with 3/4 ounce Campari. Next we add 1.25 ounces of London dry gin. Now it's time to give those berries a good muddle. Next we're gonna add a few pebbles to help the drink get frosty and aerated. And now let's give it a shake. Now we're gonna pour this mixture into a chilled goblet before topping it with more Pebble ice. Now it's time to garnish this cocktail with the lemon wedge and a raspberry. Now let's give it a sample. It's bittersweet, frosty, delicious, and most importantly, refreshing on a hot day. There you have it, folks, the bitter bramble, kind of like what would happen if a Negroni and a bramble had a baby. So that'd be an interesting thing to witness, the copulation between those two drinks. I don't quite understand how it would work, but imagine it'd be very moist. Now this last cocktail is called the Sonoma Cup, and it's something I came up with back in 2009 when I was still working at Rick House in San Francisco. The drink itself is a twist on the classic Caipirinha, except with gin in place of the cachaça and the addition of muddled white grapes. I also add a pinch of sea salt, which kind of helps replace the electrolytes that you might lose on a hot day. Not saying that the drink's on par with Gatorade, but you know, in regards to cocktails, it's about as close as you're gonna get. To make one of those, first we start out with a pinch of sea salt, along with 4 or 5 lime chunks. Next, we're gonna add 3/4 ounce simple syrup, as well as about 5 or 6 white grapes. Now we're gonna muddle all this up before we give it a good shake with some gin. Remember I said we were gonna add some gin? Well, it's time to do that now. And in this case, we're gonna be doing 2 ounces of Plymouth. Now it's time to add some ice and shake. Now, since this cocktail, we muddled lime instead of using squeezed lime juice, it's important that you taste the cocktail before you strain it out. Basically, what you want to do is taste it for balance. Since no 2 limes are the same, it's important that I make sure I give it a taste to make sure that the acidity and the sweetness are in balance. I'm gonna do that by straw tasting. It's just a touch sweet, so I'm gonna give it a little bit extra lime to make sure it's all in harmony. Which in this case, I'm gonna do with 1/4 ounce of lime juice. Now let's give it another taste and see if that did the trick. Beautiful. And now that we have the drink in balance, let's pour the entire contents into a chilled Collins glass. Let's be sure to serve the drink with a straw. And there you have it, the Sonoma Cup. Hits the spot. And there you have it, folks. 3 gin drinks that are perfect for beating the heat and staying cool no matter how warm it gets. All 3 are served over ice in a very refreshing format, and I have a feeling you're really gonna like them. But with that in mind, what are some of your favorite cocktails to help you stay cool? Leave them in the comments below, and who knows, maybe we can feature them in a future episode of Cocktail Limelight. But in the meantime, be sure to muddle that like and subscribe button so you can stay tuned for any future episodes that we have coming up. And if you want to dive deeper into the world of craft cocktails, be sure to check out the Bartender Large podcast, which I host over on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else where quality podcasts are found. And with that said, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you again next week. Dum, bang, ba-dum, bum, bang, dum, bang, dum, dum.